5 reasons you should consider outsourcing your IT support. So I'd like to tell you about a situation I ran into with what turned out to be a client of mine a few years back. I got a call from a friend of mine who was in the audiovisual world, and he said he's got a client who's in trouble. Their IT director left out of the blue and took their entire IT staff with him to another company. And they were in a jam. It was a large nonprofit that had board meetings coming up, I think, in a couple of weeks. So they didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to access things. It was a complete disaster. So, of course, said, no problem. Let me get some technicians over there. We helped them out on kind of a time and material type of thing just to get them through the board meeting. And then we went back to evaluate what they had and to try to figure out the best way for them to support, to get IT support. So this was more of a consulting. It's kind of what it started out as. And what we came to find out was they were in a bad spot. It turned out that their IT director had been buying additional supplies that were authorized because the head of the company, or excuse me, the organization, didn't really know what he was buying or what he needed. So if he said he needed something, they just went ahead and bought it. When we went into the server room, they had over $400,000 worth of server hardware still in boxes. The gentleman actually ended up being charged, and I don't know if he was convicted or not because I kind of fell off it, but it was a messy situation. So what we ended up doing with them was a bit of a hybrid approach. So they ended up hiring one internal IT person that was specific to their line of business application. That was it was a very unique application to the nonprofit world, and he kind of managed that, and then my company managed the rest of the IT environment. So I bring that up, and what I want to share with you here is just 5 reasons why outsourcing makes sense no matter what size you are. Example number 1 is what happens when they leave, right? Like, let's say you're a smaller organization, you have one internal IT person, and you got 150 users, and he seems to be doing okay, and that's fine. But what if he wins the lottery tomorrow and he says, "See you, boss. I'm going to Bermuda. I'm out of here." You're going to be in a jam, and even if they leave on good terms and they say, "Hey, listen, I'll give you a month's notice," or whatever it may be, by having that internal IT and not outsourcing a portion of that at least, you're really putting yourself at risk and your company at risk. Reason number 2 is most internal IT people become very complacent at their place of work, and they only know that network, right? So they don't stay up to date on the hot trends, which is actually reason number 3. So I'll kind of tie these together. They know your network, and that's great, but they're not learning other things. All they know is what you do and how you do it, which there's a positive to that, right? But the negative, reason number 3, is they're not always up on the hot trends because they don't pay attention to the hot trends. They like SonicWall, they like Cisco, that's what they do, whatever it may be type of thing. So those two kind of fit together, but I think they're very important, right? Because them only knowing your network isn't a positive, and them not being up on hot trends can also be an issue as well. Reason number 4, they speak tech language. Right? And as a CFO of a company or a CEO of a company or an owner of a company, kind of back to my story at the beginning of this conversation here, they were buying stuff because the IT director said they needed it. They didn't know what it meant. They didn't know who it was. So, even if you have a good person, not an evil guy like he was, if you have a great IT person that's looking out for the company, if he comes to you and says, "I need A, B, and C," okay, you don't know any different, right? Whereas with an outsource provider, especially a company like ours, you're going to have a VCIO who can take the tech and break it down and really kind of bridge that gap. And lastly, it can be cost. It can be much more cost effective to outsource your IT. As you all know, whatever you're going to pay that employee, it's going to be 20 to 30% more by the time you do benefits and things of that nature. So those are the 5 reasons that I believe outsourcing IT is essential and crucial and can be a positive for you and your organization. So thank you for your time. Gene Mobley, Mitchell Consulting Group.